Welcome to Scooby-Doo Legend of the Podcast. Today we are on Chapter 16, The Spirit of Rock and Roll. So, we're on Episode 3, technically, of Season 2 of A Pup Named Scooby-Doo. What'd you think of this one?
It was fun.
It was a rock and roll jamming time.
Rock and roll. Yeah, it was cute. I thought.
I feel like, okay, random little side note with this one. They played a lot with, like, shadows and lighting in this one.
Mm-hmm.
It was very colorful.
Right. Yeah, it was. And lots of music.
Yes.
Lots of not musical, just the rock and roll music was played a lot. So, which somewhere... I have quite a few notes. Nothing like you.
Oh, do you see my notes?
I see yours.
Oh.
But somewhere I wrote about the music. We'll come to it. We'll find it. But
okay. Yeah, so we'll jump into this chapter. So this one is taking place partially at the Coolsville Amphitheater and at Parker Place, which we'll explain what that is once we get there. So, we'll start with Fred, our main man. I have a little bit for him. So this, again, we've seen this a few times, but in this episode, he was... Well, so we meet a character named Buddy, and he is like a rock and roll star. But there's a ghost that's haunting his concerts, and Fred offers to solve the mystery if Buddy will pay the gang 25 cents a day.
Yeah. Well, and he offers him as the Scooby-Doo Detective Services.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo Detective Agency. That's
agency? Okay,
that's what he's calling them. That's what they're calling themselves right now, and that's what... Yeah, he always says the Scooby-Doo Detective Agency will do this, but 25 cents a day has always been what he's, like, said their rates are lately. And we had the little ghost, Mr. Boo, say that was pretty steep, but it was worth it.
In this one?
No.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, wait, where did I miss this?
No, that was a few episodes back.
Okay.
Okay, kind of a random side note with Fred, though. I don't know if you noticed this because you haven't seen a whole lot of episodes, so far. But to me, he's sounding like he's getting older. Like the voice actor that's playing him, he sounds like he's getting older in this episode.
Is changing.
I don't know if that was just me going crazy or...
No, you know so much more about him. You would notice. Now I'll have to pay attention.
Yeah, now I got to pay attention to the other episode because, like, sometimes you can tell like when an actor is like has a cold or something.
Right.
And so I'm like, was this one like he was going through a cold or something? So I'll have to pay attention in the next one. But it didn't really sound like a cold though. It sounded like he was getting older. So I don't know.
I didn't think it sounded like a cold because
Okay.
I noticed that too. And like, oh, they must have a cold. Or
Yeah.
you can kind of tell, but I didn't notice. It didn't sound like to me he had a cold. So
Okay. Yeah.
he's maturing.
We'll have to see in the next one. So, I only have two other things for Fred, actually, but this is kind of for the whole gang. I should put it with Fred because he's at the top of my notes, but at one point they all dress as, like, fangirls to trick the ghost into, like, signing a bunch of items and whatever, and I always think it's funny because most of the time it's just Scooby and Shaggy that will dress up to trick the ghost and then hurry and run away, and so I always think it's funny when the whole gang participates. And so, anyways, I thought it was funny. This time they all dressed up as fangirls.
They did, and they all tried to have girl voices.
High-pitched feminine voices.
Yes.
Even, like, Daphne changed her hair and, for it.
Yeah. It seemed like most of them put ponytails
yep.
in.
Mm-hmm.
Had a ponytail. A high ponytail on their head.
So then my last note for Fred is that he comes up with this crazy theory of who the ghost is and included Martians and all this, and the gang are getting used to it at this point because we had like a special announcement, and it's the same news broadcaster that we see do these special announcements, but he was like, all right, so when Fred does these, you just pull out a book and whatever. And then the gang were all just reading a book while Fred was going off, and I'm like, okay, apparently they're used to this by now.
Hey, that was right. They were reading books.
It was eventually, though, Daphne was finally like, okay, Fred, we've had enough. It's none of that, actually, but good try. So, do you have anything else for Fred? Because that was my last note.
You know who wasn't there? Unless I missed it.
No.
The red herring.
Yeah, he wasn't. He was not even mentioned this episode.
Fred couldn't blame it on the red herring.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait.
He wasn't there. He wasn't mentioned. Yeah, he was nowhere to be seen.
No.
Yeah, it was kind of sad.
I like the red herring.
You like when he says weenies?
It reminds you of these young kids, and they're like, it's a word we shouldn't say, but I'm gonna say it. You weenies? Like when they say to mom or dad, I hate you, and they know they shouldn't say it. That's what it reminds me of. I miss the red herring. Oh, couldn't blame it on him.
Yeah, I know. He better be back in the next episode.
He better be back, or I'm not doing that. No. I gotta keep doing it with you. You're in quarantine still.
Okay, Bronx, Waylon, let's...
You gonna do it?
I know. I wonder if you're gonna finish off Pup Named Scooby-Doo.
The way it's looking, maybe.
I mean, yeah, really.
Schools are canceled for the rest of the year, so...
Yeah.
I'm here till... in what, middle of May? Yeah, anyway.
Okay, so Daphne... So, like we said, they were going to a Buddy concert. Did you get what his name was? Like, Buddy the something?
Buddy the something man.
I
couldn't understand it, and they said it fast.
Yeah, and they say it with such weird voices. Like...
Buddy the... Yeah, I left it blank.
Buddy the Budman Chilner.
Oh, Budman. Okay.
See, I put Bugman, but, like, I knew that wasn't right.
It?
So, anyways, yeah, so Buddy is, like, a rock and roll star. So, they're going to a concert at the Coolsville Amphitheater, and Daphne bought all the tickets so that they were the only ones there. And I should have written down how much it cost. Oh, did you write down the number?
$27,345.89.
We don't know how many tickets that is, though.
They did not. They just had a big pile of tickets.
Yeah, they had it in like a wheelbarrow thing.
Yeah, and it didn't say how many, but Velma was the one that figured out the amount, right?
Yes. And then Daphne said that it was just a week's allowance.
Oh, yes.
So, she's fine. She can just do more chores for a week and get it right back.
Yeah, no problem.
But, like, okay, I mean, yes, we have seen her house, and we've, like, learned that her, she was gonna totally redo her room or move rooms or whatever. But this, like, is finally a solid, like, number of, like, and, like, plain statement of she's rich. Like, she is very, very well off, because of because of her statement of, it's just a week's allowance. Like,
right.
That clearly states how well she's off, So, but we're also, as far as we know, she doesn't have sisters yet, but we do know she will have other sisters eventually. And we learn in Mystery Incorporated that I don't know how many other sisters she has off the top of my head. They all start with the letter D. It's like Daisy, Delilah, something. Anyway, but all of her sisters, like, have these super successful jobs, like astronaut, military general, and this and that, and, like, one's a doctor of some sort. And anyway, and so in Mystery Incorporated, now that is after, like, a timeline shift, and so obviously different life choices were made by the parents and whatnot. But her parents then aren't like very accepting of Daphne's life choices to solve mysteries, because all of her sisters are these such well-off jobs, and she's
only making 25 cents a day.
Yeah, true.
And they solve the mystery in one day.
Well, yeah, and like the cops are always like, "Good job, kids," and it's like, you're the one that should be doing this, people. So, anyways, that was a little off there, but so we see Jenkins again this episode,
and he shows up, bam, right in the beginning in the amphitheater.
Yes, because she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna faint, it's Buddy," and so she calls Jenkins to faint for her.
Okay, I was writing and missed exactly that whole...
Yeah, so Jenkins, like, falls on the floor, oh, you know, like, makes this big old dramatic moment, and then Daphne's all, "Oh, thank you, Jenkins, I feel so much better." So, that's not the only time we'll see him.
No.
So,
we'll see him again.
Buddy gets kidnapped at the beginning of his concert, and, you know, of course, Shaggy and Scooby are like, okay, like, well, even Fred was like, all right, let's head out, leave, this is scary. But Daphne's like, you know, we're not leaving until Buddy is found and whatever. It wasn't long until they got Buddy back at that point, but Daphne just is headstrong, brave. You know, when she wants something, she is not leaving, not stepping down till she gets it. And even Fred right now is like, nope, not dealing with ghosts.
Well,
oh, hi.
She calls him constantly throughout the whole thing. That's my buddy.
Yeah.
That's my buddy.
Well, okay, we'll get into it in a minute, but something else I noticed with Buddy, too. I'll say it later, but yeah. I put, like, she has this crush on Buddy, which, I mean, yeah, it's like, you know, young girls thing, you know, like...
he's a rock and roll hero.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
star.
I thought it was really cool, though, because Buddy was a guy of color, and I loved the fact that they made Daphne, like, somewhat attracted to this guy of color.
Uh-huh.
You know, like, as far as I can remember, we won't really see that much later on.
I remember in one of your other ones you mentioned someone was different nationality.
Well, even the last one, I think, was...
Was it?
There was someone.
And we just commented on that, that back in that time, that wasn't super known. But yeah, and especially to be attracted to a different nationality, I think it's cool. So,
they eventually go to there's this old, like, legendary rock star, Purvis Parker. I mean, I'm guessing it's like this universe's Elvis.
Yeah.
You know, but apparently, like, his house has been turned into a museum, and it's called Parker Place. And so, you know...
Home of rock and roll.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
That's... Well, that goes back to Scooby. So...
But Daphne mentions that Purvis's house is like hers, but smaller.
But smaller, I have that.
I'm like, holy crap, girl. I mean, we've seen our house, but, like, how freaking big is your house?
Well, and the only other thing I thought was funny, I didn't hear her comment, though, but she's like, this is just like my house. Except I saw spider webs.
Yeah, it looked like it wasn't being really taken care of.
It wasn't, yeah, I mean, it was like not a museum that you would, it wasn't kept up.
No, which, I mean, we learn why.
Yeah.
But, yeah, at first you're like, yeah, has anybody even, like, living?
Is it abandoned?
Yeah. But that's what it looks like at first.
She didn't comment on, like, ew. Spider webs. I thought she might when I saw them.
Yeah, true.
But Daphne didn't.
So most of this episode, she's like teaming up with Scooby.
Mm-hmm. Well, because Scooby liked well, I just forgot his name. Buddy. Oh, Scooby was all, oh, Buddy.
I thought that was so, like, okay, I remember this episode, but, like, you know, watching it when you're older, obviously you notice stuff and realize stuff, but it's, like, interesting that Scooby was so, like, oh my gosh, it's Buddy. Like,
what? It's no different than my girl crush I have.
Well, I know, but I just, like, I don't know, it was just weird because Daphne and Scooby were the ones obsessing over it, you know, and like Shaggy had no interest in Buddy.
No,
like
he was along for the ride.
Yeah, which I mean, okay, to be fair, you know, Daphne and Velma and whatever go along with Shaggy and Scooby stuff too. Like they went to the comic convention, you know, when Shaggy and Scooby really want to go, and Daphne had no interest being there, but she went to support Shaggy and whatever, you know. So like it's a fair trade right now.
Yeah, true.
And then my last note for Daphne is her hair like becomes a mess because they fall in a pool at one point, and you know she's all like, my hair's a mess and whatever. And I've mentioned this before, but overboard, and there's the ghost Charlie the haunted robot, and anyway. She falls in the water and messes up her hair, and she's all like, I'll make it pay for what it did to my hair, and whatever, so, yeah, don't mess with her and her beauty.
Yeah, I know. One thing I had for her is when they go to the Parker place, they have to pay, and she goes to pay, and the smallest bill she has is $100 bill. Okay,
I couldn't tell what type of bill she had, but I know she, you know, she was like, sorry, it's the smallest bill I have.
And he says, oh, no problem. I have change. Mm-hmm. And he gives her change back. I didn't see anyone else buy a ticket, though, but I could have missed it.
I mean, maybe she paid for all of them.
Maybe she paid for all of them, is what. But the smallest bill she had was $100 bill. So.
That's all I had for Daphne.
Well, I have one more thing, but I don't know if we want to talk about it now, or we'll incorporate it into Scooby.
Okay. Are you coming up?
Hi, Waylon.
Come on. If you're coming up, come on. You can do it. You're fine. Okay.
Right here? There you go. You can do it. Come on. There. You flew up there. We just glide. Yeah.
Okay, so Velma, of course she says jinkies.
How many times?
I don't know. I don't count. 3?
3 is what I got.
Kudos to you for counting. I never have.
We all pick out different things, huh?
But one time she says jinkies, and Jenkins
shows up.
Yeah, he thought she was calling him, and, you know, she was all, oh, you know, I'm sorry, you know, I said jinkies, not Jenkins. But I think it's interesting that he'll still come for Velma, not just Daphne. So it's almost like the butler was, like, told, you know, take care of the gang's needs.
Not just Daphne, but all of them. Yeah, he did come when she said jinkies.
But, yeah, I thought that was interesting, so.
She said it one time in the beginning. She said it when they discover something, and then also when she finds the guitar pick.
And so when Daphne when Daphne falls into the pool, I mean, like, all of them fall into the pool, but Velma has a blow dryer ready for her.
Pulls it out.
And it's like, here you go, take care of your hair.
Mary Poppins here.
Yeah, pretty much.
Who knows where she got that from?
Who knows where she got anything from?
Like, She just pulls out that big old computer out of nowhere.
Yeah, in her briefcase.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I noted that too, that she has her computer and briefcase again this episode. So, Jenkins has not totally taken over that yet. Because that was my question, is now that Jenkins is here, is Velma going to have a need to carry everything?
Yeah, she pulled the blow dryer and the briefcase out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm. So she also was, again, like a quick thinker, and at the end of the romp, she was able to scare the ghost away with the tree branch.
Yeah, that's right.
So, look at her go. That's all I had for Velma.
Well, I have... Okay, once again, her feet make me giggle because they... And at one point I glance up and see her walking with the others, and you hear the noise. They make the little noise, but one thing it reminded me of is when you watch Charlie Brown and you see Pigpen and like he stands out because there's all the dust.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, not that there's dust around her feet, but I have... She says, Jinkies, I need to get ready for bed. When she discovers... Well, so they find in the Parker place all the gold records of Purvis Parker. But then she pulls out her big old magnifying glass and she discovers that they aren't real gold.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, so she says they are not real gold, which then goes back to Fred at the end. He finds the real gold ones backstage, but this is after they're figuring out who the villain is. So, yeah, the ones being shown in the museum are not real. And another clue, and she says Jinkies in, she finds a guitar pick. Wasn't it in the pool?
Yeah.
When they fell in the pool, she found it in the pool. So that's what I have for her.
She's just doing all the clue hunting.
One more. Someone else gets a clue.
So, poor Shaggy, I have nothing for him.
Good job, Shag.
You were there.
I'm glad you were there, along for the ride.
You had a big episode last week.
We appreciate you being there, dude.
So, Scooby!
Wouldn't be the same without you, you know.
You know, I mean... Again, it's like... If Scooby is there doing stuff, Shaggy's likely there too.
Yes, of course.
I know, yeah. Anyway, yeah, so I have nothing for Shaggy. So, Scooby, like we said, is all into Buddy with Daphne. And at one point, he's trying to take a picture of this car that drives away to get the license plate number. And he takes a picture of a pizza parlor instead. But I was just like... I don't know why. Well, I was impressed that he knew how to work this big old-fashioned camera, you know?
It had the cloth that you put over your head. Okay, that goes back to where I got... So he takes the picture, and he's supposed to be taking it of the car to get the license plate, because somebody's driving away in it, and they wanted to get this person, and then this person drives away in this car. But Velma... has her magnifying glass again, and she looks at the picture closer.
Yeah.
And there was a bumper sticker that said Parker Place, home of rock and roll. So that's where I got that from, off of the bumper sticker on the car.
So Scooby wouldn't take the bribe of just Scooby Snacks. He also needed a brand new song by Buddy to be able to be bribed.
And Daphne had the Scooby Snacks. Again.
Yes. She's just the carrier of the Scooby Snacks right now. I'm wondering when and who that's going to switch with.
Because she said, a Scooby snack? Nope. 2 Scooby snacks? Nope.
Well, he was like, he like had a moment of, I told you no. Like, he was being sassy. Like, Scooby.
But he would do it for a new song from Buddy.
Yes.
And 2 Scooby snacks.
Yeah, true. He did still have the Scooby snacks. So, we hear... Well, so they're getting ready to do the trap, you know, and so they're trying to, like, trick the ghost and whatever. And Daphne is, like, talking amongst the gang, is like, you know, I hope Scooby remembers what to do or whatever when we say now. And Scooby hears that and thinks she's saying, like, now. And so he, like, activates the trap too early and catches the gang and not the ghost.
Yeah, there's a rope he cuts because they're running over, like, a net. And he cuts it and it pulls them up in the net.
Ting. And then, actually, my last note for Scooby is that to actually catch the ghost, he plugs the guitar into an amp and starts playing it really loud, and the sound waves push the ghost into drums. That's how they caught him.
I also had before that, when they're kind of running, Scooby's scared and he goes up, like they have the lights that kind of hang down from the ceiling, and he goes up into the light and is hiding all up in the light, shaking, and then the whole light and the ceiling fall, and it falls on the ghost. And they're like, yeah, we got him. But then the ghost gets out.
Yeah. Is that all for Scooby you had?
Well, no, he gets one of the clues. His nose
yeah.
lights
Super
up.
sniffer.
And it says clue on his nose, and they call it his super sniffer. And he found the Parker Place secret vault with his super sniffer. Maybe that's where the gold records were. In the vault, oh my gosh, my head is not working.
Parker Place?
In the Parker Place.
Yeah. So then, like we said, red herring, not mentioned, not seen. He was absent, missing in action.
Darn it.
So, let's see, our side characters. So we had Buddy, obviously, the rock and roll star. I actually only put one note for him. Wow. Because I talked about him more with the other characters. But
right.
At the end, he plays... He actually has this concert and whatever. But him and this other person plays the show's theme song together.
Yeah.
Plays the Pup Named Scooby-Doo theme song. Did you have anything else for him?
Not that I can see quickly.
Okay, then I had Mr. Dilton. He's the Parker Place, the museum curator, and eventually they run into him at the pool, and Fred's all like, "What are you doing at at night, sneaking around the museum?" And he's all, "I work here."
Yeah.
So that's really all I had for him.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had Lenny Lipner, who is he's dressed as this Purvis Parker dude, and he's basically believes Buddy is the reason that everyone's forgotten about him. So he just doesn't like Buddy.
I have down that he's the Purvis Parker impersonator.
Yeah, pretty much.
Is what they were saying about him.
And then we have, well, for most of the episode, just known as Spooky Guy in Trench Coat.
Yeah, spooky old man.
He's running around.
That's who they were. They saw him at the amphitheater and was questioning, who is that? And Buddy was like, oh no, he's at all of my concerts. But he was taken off, and the gang, it's like, no, this isn't right. So they go to chase him, and he's the one that jumps in the car.
Yeah.
And takes off in the car, and that's when Scooby took the picture. Because they wanted to track him down.
So yeah, and he eventually like shows up at the Parker place, sneaking around there, and eventually, well, so Buddy got like actually kidnapped at one point, and so then once they catch the ghost and whatever, Buddy, you know, shows up and comes with this guy, but then it's revealed, the plot twist of the episode, that it's actually Purvis Parker who faked his own disappearance to get some peace and quiet.
And he faked his own disappearance by, they said his private plane disappeared. Is because he just couldn't take all the attention and everything anymore, and he needed some peace and quiet. So they said, they were saying about 2 years ago, didn't his private plane disappear? Yeah, it did. So.
But that's, well, so we learn also why he's been going to all the concerts is he's actually a fan of Buddy's. While everybody's been blaming Buddy for being, you know, like pushing Purvis out of the light, you know, Purvis Parker is like, oh no, I like you, like,
yeah,
you know, I like your music and whatever.
They called Purvis Parker at one point too, Dude of Rock and Roll.
Yeah.
He was known as the Dude of Rock and Roll.
Okay, so our villain of this episode is the ghost of Purvis Parker, you know, before we learn that he isn't really disappeared. So he's like a rock and roll star, but he's like the skeleton ghost thing.
Yeah, okay, so he was a skeleton-ish. Like, and yet he had the hair, it was black hair, parted over to the side, greased over.
He had a coat on.
Yep, a long coat, almost like
a
almost like
fancy.
not a suit coat, but oh my goodness, help me out here. Like you wear to weddings.
Tux.
Tux, almost like a tux coat with tails.
So he's apparently been showing up to all of Buddy's concerts. He is trying to get Buddy, and he kept saying throughout the episode, "Boo, boo, boo, I got you." Or like, "Boo, boo, boo, I want you," or something. And so yeah, he definitely was playing on the ghost factor. He was boo. So.
And he floated.
Yeah, he floated. This time it was actually explained.
It was.
I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So, behind the ghost of Purvis Parker, it was Mr. Dilton, the Parker Place curator. He was trying to, well, he was stealing Buddy's concert money, but, you know, he just basically wanted Buddy out of the light.
And I think it was Velma that said one of her clues was when he gave Daphne her change, he had so much money, and that's when she was like, wait a minute.
Well, because he said the museum is, like, the place, you know, hasn't been getting lots of customers.
But he's had all that money. So that was a clue for her.
So, yeah. What do you think of Mr. Dilton? Do you think he would come back?
I hate that question. I never know.
I mean, it's more of a theory because, I mean, I've said this before, but as far as we know, no Pup Named Scooby-Doo villains have come back. So it's more of just like, do you think he has a good enough motive to come back, to try to do it again? Or, like, for me personally, I feel like this one is like a no, because it's like, by the time he gets out of jail, Buddy probably won't be as famous as he is now.
Yeah.
So it's like, sorry, dude, you failed the first time. Bye.
But my first reaction is always like, no, they're a villain. They weren't doing bad things. They just shouldn't come back.
That's what revenge is for.
Well, is revenge always good?
It never is, but do they have, like, a good enough plan? Like, could they do it again? Could they try to do it again?
Well, maybe.
This guy, maybe if he went for someone else now.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I have for this episode.
Me too.
So, I have two things continuity-wise. So, like we said, Scooby plays the guitar to capture the ghost. And as far as I can remember, this is the first time we're seeing him play the guitar. And this will, like, be, for the most part, his, like, instrument of choice whenever we see them play music and whatever. One that's really sticking out to me is actually one of our first movies that we'll watch. It's called Scooby-Doo Legend of the Vampire. They go to Australia, and there's this big, like, rock concert festival competition thing going on out in the outback. And so, you know, they go there and whatever, and it's they're playing by vampire rock. And of course, you know, just because the gang shows up, the legendary Yowie Yahoo vampire is, you know, shows up. Basically is not liking all the disruption of the noise and whatever. And it's this giant vampire. Like, it is not a vampire you think of. It is huge, and, like, it only has his torso, like, basically his chest up, you know, like, can't see his legs. His legs are this giant tornado and whatever. And he has, like, these, like, lightning bolts rope things that come and kidnap people. And, like, anyways, he's huge. He's not what you think of a vampire. Anyway, so all these bands are getting taken and whatever. And so the gang are like, okay, well, we have to, like, act like we're a band and participating in this, you know, so the vampire will come, you know, so we can get clues. And anyway, so, you know, they have to act like they're practicing, but they have to, like actually act like they're really practicing. And anyway, yeah, so, oh, wait. No, Scooby plays the drums. Shaggy plays the guitar there. Now that I'm thinking about it.
I have no idea.
But I swear he played the guitar at some point. I know he'll play, like, the air guitar in Witch's Ghost on the things you churn butter with.
Oh.
And then well, in that same movie, I think he plays, like, the bongos in that movie or something. They, like, join the Hex Girls and whatever, but which are characters we haven't met yet. We won't.
But see, I know their name. I am sure it's from you all these years watching.
So then my other little thing was the whole camera. You know, like, it was the old time camera, the one you had to go under the cover and whatever, and you had, like, the dust or whatever that flashes. I don't know how that worked.
It's like a smoke. Poof.
Yeah. And so then there's going to be a movie. It's more towards the end of our timeline, so we won't get to it for a long, long time. But it's Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase, and they actually get sucked into a video game at this point. And the last level that they're in, eventually, well, so there's virtual versions of the game because they get sucked into a computer game that's based on their mysteries and whatever. And so the, like, computer or the virtual gang are in the last level, and they meet them once they get to the last level, and the virtual gang are all dressed as their old selves or, like, their teenage selves. So by the time we get to Cyber Chase, they're adults at this point, so they're, you know, more dressed in, like, I guess, older clothing, whatever. You know, they're not in their 60s outfits and whatever.
Yeah.
But their computer versions are, and whatever. And anyway, so at one point they all kind of disperse with their pairs. So, like, the Freds and Freds, the Daphnes and Daphnes, Velmas and Velmas, yada yada. And so there's like there's a romp more or less, and you know, so they're all in their different parts, and there's all these monsters, and each monster goes after a pair, and the Daphnes have the Creeper, which is a classic monster. All the monsters that chase them are old monsters that we will see, you know, throughout it. But so the two Daphnes are dealing with the Creeper, and at one point they set the Creeper up to take an Old West photo and whatever. Anyway, so they go into one of those cameras again to take the picture, and so anyway, it just made me think of that.
Old time. Mm-hmm. It was had the 3 legs, like a tripod.
Yeah, and like when you open it or whatever, it pulls out like the lens.
Yeah.
So, yeah, anyway, I don't know why I thought of that, but I did. So, that's all I have for this episode.
Yeah, me too.
All right, so if you'd like to get in contact with us, you can find the podcast on Twitter at SD Legend Podcast, and you can also find us on Instagram at SD Legend Podcast. If you'd like to email us, which we've had a few emails already, some people asking us questions or giving us comments, which I am loving, so please do. Because,
leave a comment.
Yeah, let us know your thoughts about the timeline so far, or your thoughts overall on the timeline, or, you know, give us questions, whatever, because if you'd like us to read them, we will, you know, even if they're comments on, like, Instagram and Twitter. But you can find our email. It is sdlegendpodcast@gmail.com. Now, if you'd like to find me personally, I am on Twitter at jazz820. On Instagram, I am at smash_vlogs, which I also do a YouTube channel where I do other types of content, amongst other types of Scooby content. But it is Smash, that is lowercase sm and all uppercase ASH. If you search Ashton Hardy, it should be one of the first ones to pop up. And that's going to do it.
That's going to do it for this one.
So the next one I'm actually pretty excited about because it is the one with Chickenstein, which is a one that a lot of people remember. And the reason being because in Scooby-Doo 2, Monsters Unleashed, which will be the end of our timeline, and it is my personal favorite movie, he doesn't come to life like some of the other monsters do, but we see his costume in that movie, and Velma calls that monster more of one of their more ridiculous foes. So, yeah, I'm excited to see his episode before, you know, he'll be brought back up eventually. So, anyways.
Woohoo. Well, I'll be here a while longer.
Yeah, who knows how long it's gonna be. Again, I honestly think you're gonna finish Pup with us.
If we keep doing this.
Yeah.
Well, we're keeping Ashton in. I am working, but
yeah, update.
not much more than that. Sometimes we try to order groceries, but sometimes you have to run into the store for something quick, but we're trying to stay in the best we can. We luckily have a nice backyard that we can go out in and play with our pups. We take Ashton on, not that he can't drive, but we'll go on rides and sometimes go on walks around the neighborhood because we're still able to do that. So send him questions or comments.
I know.
He needs
I honestly feels like, even though, you know, like there's no pain or whatever, I feel like I've had a surgery and I've had to stay home to recover. I'm like, I mean, like, I don't know, I'm not bored or anything. It's just, it has that feeling of like, I can't go hang out with friends or something. I can't.
Or like even before you'd have a surgery. No. Yeah. You can't go out because we can't have you get sick.
Yep.
Kind of reminds you of that too. And the whole, I mean, we've always washed our hands a lot in that, but whenever he was going to have surgery and after, we washed our hands a ton and wiped things down. And I did a whole thing on how we do our groceries and that, but yeah, we're just being super careful. Have to not wear the clothes that I've worn to work in the house and things like that. So just trying to stay safe and hope everybody else out there is staying safe also.
Yeah, I'm just making all kinds of content right now while I'm home. Doing videos, obviously the podcast. Again, go find my channel because I'm doing lots of videos lately, and I've been asking you all what you would like to see, and of course Scooby content. So if you need more Scooby content, I got you covered over there right now.
Yeah.
Or all the time, really. Alright. That'll do it for this episode. Thank you all for listening. We will catch you in the next one.
I'll be back. See you then.
Bye.